Hey, and thanks for joining us on this week's episode of For All Things Lexington, the only show dedicated to Lexington, South Carolina, and where a spade is always a spade. Here we'll talk to and about people, places, groups, things to do, and places to go in and around Lexington, South Carolina. I'm your host, Angela Barrett, and this is For All Things Lexington.
This episode of the For All Things Lexington podcast has been brought to you by Essential Headshots, where big shots were only little shots that kept getting headshots, by Essential Headshots and Michael Woodland.
Brought to you in part by GervaisStreetBridge.com, Columbia's most unforgettable free-to-list business directory. Hey guys, thanks for joining me today. I have with me Michael Woodland with Essential Headshots. He is a photographer here in Columbia. And thank you so much for being here today.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah, we have tried to get together a couple times. We finally made it. Thank goodness. So tell me the importance of a headshot.
Well, you got to look at that from two folds. The first fold is being that a great headshot is nothing more than a digital handshake for someone. Because how many times have you went to somebody's website to look and see who are the people that are servicing? I'm pretty judgmental myself, so when I see somebody that doesn't fit my morals or a character flaw or something,
Sure.
I might just, okay, next.
Move on, right.
The other side of it is that picture will capture, your characteristics and your personality if done correctly, which will broadcast your professionalism that will bring people that want to talk to you. Because how many times have you looked at a picture, noticed the fake smile, but then you've seen another picture that has the genuine characteristics, the genuine smile, which is, hey, I want to talk to them. I want to do business with them. So I'm just trying to assist people into mitigating the challenge of being scared in front of the camera.
Right. Yeah. It is much easier to be behind it for sure. Now, not just business people get headshots.
Correct.
Who else would benefit from a headshot?
Well, if you ask me, I say anybody from the janitor to the CEO.
Yeah.
So everybody can utilize a headshot in one way, shape, or form. So let's take it on into the question a little bit deeper. All right. So we already said the CEOs. All right. So now you got your worker bees, all right, which might be your staff, people behind the scene, your IT people,
Sure.
and then any type of services that you want to promote that your business does. So technically every business can benefit from a headshot. It's just the importance of you getting your message out there through that headshot.
Right. Now, do you do different headshots for, you would look at it differently for different types of businesses or the role that person plays, or as a headshot, you come in, it's a white background and you smile for the camera and, try to get a genuine laugh. I get that. But are there different ways of doing that for different professions or personalities, so forth?
Yeah, there's many different ways you can do it. One way I like to do it is I like to keep it simple, right? And I try to pull your characteristic out. Because like I said, some people are nervous, and then as soon as they get in front of the camera, and you'd be like, all right, countdown, 3, 2, 1, and the poor guys.
Poor guys.
So you got to figure out a way to break that, but you have to understand people in order to make that happen as well.
Right.
So there's many different ways you can do it. You can do it outdoors, you can do it indoors, you can do it with various backgrounds, like a lawyer would normally have like the bookshelf behind them with the law books. Somebody who's like a fitness person might have it, whereas they got the weights behind them.
Right.
Pictures with the background, it limits the use.
Sure.
You want to keep it professional also.
So that would be my next question. So if you needed a headshot for a magazine, but you also needed a photo for a billboard, 2 different photos, right? And so what would be your suggestion for somebody just come in and sort of lay out everything that you need? Because those photos probably are not, I wouldn't think, you could use the same photo, I guess, but
you could, but you don't want to use the same photo on each platform.
Correct.
Either, because, you're going to wear it out, and it's not going to have that same quality, of effect. But you can do it one or two ways. You can change your backdrops, like just keep it simple, simple color, black backdrops. And then you can have like a green screen of some such, and then you can also cut it out and then put a different type backdrop to it. So with technology, there's many different avenues you can do when it comes to a headshot.
Right. Except when you have blonde hair, you know what happens in a green screen?
I never used the green screen. So please stop it.
Green. And if you try to correct it, it's pink.
Oh, okay.
Blondes can't use green screen or shouldn't use green screen. So now you have a studio.
Correct.
In Columbia.
Correct.
But you also do on-location shots if requested, obviously, for more money. But
right. So this was the first reason why we couldn't meet our first appointment, because it was a company out of Charleston, South Carolina, that hired me to come to them, and they made the decision the same day I contacted you.
Sure.
The day we were supposed to meet. So that was the reason why the first one didn't happen. But
what kind of shots were they doing?
They was doing headshot. It was an investment firm in Charleston. So they brought me in, take their pictures, and I felt like I knocked it out the park.
Yeah, good.
Everything else.
Good. But now what if somebody, let's just say somebody like me, a podcaster, I would want something extremely casual, nothing, it would be very different from what my real estate picture, I guess, would look like.
Correct. Yeah.
In the industry. So if we wanted to go, USC campus or right here in Lexington at the amphitheater and take shot, really casually, that's something you do as well, right?
Correct. Another thing I'll do is I'll sit down and I'll talk with you just to try to figure out the way you think and how you look at things. And I'll just start throwing ideas out because, being a photographer, I've always felt like I was creative, before photography. But I would literally think outside the box and say, hey, what do you think about this? Or what about this? And it could be something as silly as you're just holding a bunch of microphones or wires in your hand.
Right.
And you're making a silly face and you take a picture, and that could be something you could use as far as publicizing whatever on Facebook or,
right,
some social media outlet.
Now, do you do other types of events? Or I know you have some people who do weddings. Do you have some people who will go to grandma's reunion or birthday? Do you do those types of events, or it's more professional? You stay on that professional end of things.
I stay more on the professional end, of course, or as like a Christmas party, but it has to be like a company
Christmas party.
You know what I'm saying? Or a company gathering of some such. I am that one guy that will tell you, honestly, I will not do weddings.
Yeah.
But I recommend somebody else to do it. Like somebody comes in, do you do weddings? I don't, but I know somebody who does.
Right. Yeah. As a wedding photographer, you got one shot. There's no redo.
That's true.
Back in the day as an amateur, this is back when there was film as an amateur photographer, who was saying, oh, don't you want to, do weddings? Like, no, I absolutely do not want to ever do a wedding.
Yeah, I think it's more the stress and the time constraints.
Yeah.
That. So,
right.
And a lot of people can't perform under stress. Some people look at it as a challenge it mellows them out.
Right.
But it also depends on the circumstances. So when you put stress on me with photography, obviously I'm thinking of, hey, if I don't knock this out the park, what could happen after the fact?
Right.
But if you take it back to previous life in the military, that type of stress, I'm calm as a whistle.
Right. Well, that brings me on. Well, though, I'll hold that thought. Let me hold that thought because I did want to go. So when somebody's doing a, no matter whether it's a casual or it's a studio, very professional headshot or, a CEO, what are some of the no-nos that people make, common mistakes you see when people come and they're all ready for their picture, whether it be makeup, whether it be hair, whether the type of clothes they wear? What are some of those no-nos? Do you give people advice on?
Correct. I prefer men to tie their tie a certain way, either the Windsor knot or the half Windsor knot, because it's a little bit more fattier at the end, but it's a little bit more professional. Women, I tend to tell them no jewelry, because if you go into an organization that has at least 5 women, that jewelry spectrum is going to be all across the board. So it might be some big necklace or big earrings, which will take away from the facial aspect of the headshot. So you try to minimize the distracting objects as much as possible.
And what about colors and patterns in clothes?
I always tell people wear whatever your favorite outfit is or your favorite color, right? And the only reason I say that is because you're going to put out a different type of aura, if it's your favorite, right? Because if it's like, for me, I like to wear white shirts. Right. So, of course, when I walk into a room, I'm like, hey, look at my white shirt.
Sure.
Versus if it's a brown shirt, I'm like, man, do they think it's a stain or what's going on here? So it's just a matter of how you perceive it. But as a photographer, I want you to feel as comfortable as you can, because that's one of the questions I always get over the telephone.
Right.
What should I wear? Right. And of course, if you're talking to me over the telephone and I don't know who you are, I've never seen you before, I stick to the neutral colors, blue, black, gray.
Yeah.
Keep it simple.
Right. So now, you are retired military.
Correct.
And I know you are, or at least have been, a firearms instructor.
Correct.
And in fact, you were actually on the NRA TV with Cam Edwards, and probably about 4 years ago, I think it was. But anyway, so big enough into the firearms instructing world to have been on there, and y'all were talking about the importance of maintaining your firearms training, right?
Correct.
How the hell did you get to photography?
It was a mistake. I can honestly say that. So basically what took place with me was when I got out of the military, because my MOS in the military was 11 Bravo, so infantry across the board. So the whole time in infantry, that's all I've dealt with was firearms. When you're watching movies, you already know, like you see stuff and like, that's not real. Yes, turns you off or whatever the case may be. And when I was younger, my dad used to always say, well, what are you going to do about it? You make the change. What are you going to do about it? So you listen to a lot of myths. So for instance, you're a smaller female. How many times have you went to a firearm store and they said, oh, this tiny firearm is perfect for you?
Right.
Right. Well, I debunked that in all the classes that I used to give. Like, so you can handle the same firearm that I handle, probably even better, depending on how you process,
Sure.
So when I got out of the military, as you stated before, firearm instructor, and then I picked up competition shooting as well. Of course, I picked up sponsors with competition shooting to offset the costs, because it is pretty expensive if you try to go about it yourself at the level that I was at.
Right.
So one of my sponsors, they got into coffee. So, my buddy Chad, who's the owner of JM4 Tactical, he actually called me up one day, woke me up and was like, hey, what are you doing? I was sleeping, about to go out to the range and practice it. What's up? Like that. He said, just tell me whatever flavor you like. And whatever, he gave me like 4 different flavors.
Right.
And I was like, French vanilla. I'll call you back. I was like, okay. So he called me back like 4 days later and was like, hey, you want to get something in the mail? And we need you to do a product review on it. And I was like, okay, cool. Well, product review was coffee. And I'm sitting there like, I don't even drink coffee. How am I going to do this? So I went ahead and I figured out a way to do it, which was I gathered up a couple of my friends and ask them to come over, make the coffee, have them taste it, and give their honest opinion on it. So if you watch that video, nothing was rehearsed. Like, I told them straight up, don't put your lips to that cup until we get in front of the camera.
Right.
And that's exactly what happened. So after I put the video together, the music and everything, JM4, they fell in love with that video. They was like, yo, that video was on point. How did you manage to do that?
Right.
And I was like, I'll just do my thing. That's all I
Right.
So he came back and said, hey, take some pictures. Right. So I'm thinking like, okay, I got this YouTube channel, all these cameras, too easy. Well, when I pulled the camera out and started taking pictures, I was like, oh, I don't know how to operate this camera. Because the only reason I bought all those cameras was for the video aspect of it. So not to say nothing's wrong with a telephone or a GoPro, it's just you get a higher quality video with, at that time, the DSLR type style camera. So right after that, because I don't like to feel defeated in anything, so I went straight to Midwest Tech, and I was like, hey, when is y'all next photography class?
Right.
And this was in November of 21 when this took place. And they was like January of 22.
Right.
So I was like, well, I'll be right back. So I went to the military because I still got the benefits that I could use as far as education and everything. So they went ahead, they did their aspect of it, got me into the class in January. So the class was from January to March of 22. And then I started Essential Headshots April 1st of 22.
Well, interesting, because I went back and did my normal, Facebook, Snoop, and for, as your case, YouTube. I see one thing in here that points to a camera. I don't know how we got here.
It was an honest mistake. Well, I won't say it's an honest mistake. I would just say JM4 Tactical pushed me in that direction.
So, really, obviously, based on all the filming that you had done, you had an eye for behind the camera. It was just learning the equipment at that time, because they are very different.
Yeah. So I think the one aspect that turned me to headshots was when I was in that photography class, because they don't teach you how to take pictures.
Oh, no.
In class. It was just mainly teaching you how to operate the camera under certain circumstances.
Right.
So once you understand that triangle period of putting A to B together, everything else is plug and play, but it's going to take time to get to a certain level. So there was a female in the class that wanted a headshot from the instructor, but the instructor was like, no, you got all these people in this class, let them take the headshot of you. And she was more like, okay, I'll pass. Right? Because they asked who wants to take a picture, and it was like 4 of us that raised our hand. So I took that as a personal challenge to say, okay, I'm going to make it whereas you wish you would have came to me.
Yeah.
And like I said, day in, day out, I was practicing different techniques. Coming across different things, and I'll be laying in bed and I was like, I want to try this. I get up and I just work on whatever and just piece it together, and we are where we are today.
Yeah. Now, who would you say, I guess, biggest name you've done so far?
Say that again?
The biggest name that you've taken, I don't know, it could be CEO, it could be, I don't know, who.
The biggest name picture that I've taken a picture of, honestly, I don't know. I would honestly say I got focused hard on the military.
Yeah.
So like there's a couple, like if you ever see people in the military, when an officer steps in, because I was enlisted, because I was an E7 out in the military. So when officers walk in, you can see the difference between an officer and an enlisted. But when I'm taking photos, I'm cracking jokes, have the same conversation.
Sure.
I don't treat nobody no different. So I would honestly say that would be the highest caliber person, even though I've taken a couple pictures of CEOs and higher execs.
Yeah.
But for me, the military is always going to have that high.
Oh, well, yes. Because you really have let's see, you got out when?
In 2017.
Yeah, I was going to say, I hadn't been terrible.
Right.
So do I tell everybody how they can get in touch with you? Now you have a website, and tell me what that was again.
Yes, ESNTL headshots.com. So it's an abbreviation for essential.
Yeah.
Right? Echo, Sierra, November, Tango, Lima, headshots with an S.com.
And if you're in the military, you understood everything he just said. And so go there, and they can book through there, or they need to talk with you first.
Yes, so you can either go to the website, or you can go through Instagram, whereas I have a link in the bio, whereas if you click on the link in the bio, it'll take you straight to the schedule page on the website.
Okay.
So on social media, it's at ESNTL headshots across everything.
What's the one thing that you think people should know about being a photographer that probably most don't?
Find your lane, take the time to learn. At the same time, you take the time to learn, take the time to be creative and try to discover what interests you and not what you think somebody else is going to interest. But at the same time, figure out who you are in the process.
I like it. Well, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Do you need a headshot, guys? You should go on his website and look. I have, and they are phenomenal. Thanks, Ken.
Thank you.
Thanks for hanging out with us today, and we hope you enjoyed the show. If you'd like to be a guest on the show or have a person, business, idea, an event that Lexington needs to know more about, email me, local@forallthingslexington.com. That's the number 4, y'all.
This episode of the For All Things Lexington podcast has been brought to you by Essential Headshots, where big shots were only little shots that kept getting headshots, by Essential Headshots and Michael Woodland. And by Angela Barrett at HomeMattersSC.com, building on what matters to you.